Gay adoption and surrogacy should be illegal.
They're purchasing the body parts of women and renting them, using them like an Airbnb rental.
Wait, I thought we got rid of slavery.
A family that's headed up by two gay men it's an abomination.
It never happened before, and now it's happening, and that's why we call it progress, right?
It's progress in the way that cancer progresses. A child being in foster care is far from an ideal scenario. It's very, very sad. A child going to two gay parents, I think, is worse. I think it's easily worse, actually.
Like this video to help the algorithm, and comment what you think of gay adoption. Good energy. No fighting, no arguing.
No arguing.
Howdy. Well, Russ here.
And Chris.
We watched Tucker Carlson and Matt Walsh discuss whether or not a gay couple should be able to adopt. And Matt Walsh has some pretty harsh views on it. He would rather a child stay in foster care than to have two gay parents. We're free thinkers. Sometimes we do agree with Tucker, sometimes we don't, and sometimes we agree with Matt Walsh and sometimes we don't.
Absolutely. Do I ever agree with anyone 100% of the time? Absolutely not. I don't even agree with myself 100% of the time. I change my mind.
It's a little concerning, I'm not gonna lie. If he was the one passing the laws, if Matt Walsh was,
we'd be up S Creek.
I'd be protesting. I'd be thankful for the Second Amendment if he got too radical. Because he doesn't believe, Matt Walsh does not believe in gay marriage. I don't know how far he would take it.
I wouldn't trust him to be in control of my life. Let's put it that way.
He's allowed to have his opinion, but leave me out of it. Live your own life.
Take his own opinion and his little family and do his little family wherever that he wants to do his little family, and let us do ours here in Florida.
Or Matt Walsh could always buy us a house and start like paying for all our bills, and then maybe we'll listen to him.
Oh yeah, he could become our sugar daddy.
If he wants to become our sexless sugar daddy, because gay is wrong.
Oh, that's right. Matt Walsh could be our platonic sugar daddy, and then we'd probably listen to him.
Until then, stay out of our lives. But let's watch this video and see what he actually has to say about gay couples not adopting.
Okay, so I'm I'm not on X all that much, but I do read.
Is that X or X hamster?
No, it's X. Yeah. It sounds dirty, don't it?
It is dirty.
Twitter.
And sometimes I read your tweets and I'm like, Matt Walsh, ladies and gentlemen, spinning people up. Here's one. We've been saying for many years that gay adoption and surrogacy should be illegal. Now everyone else seems to be catching on. This is an abomination. We've been saying for many years that gay adoption is an abomination. I've never heard anybody say that.
Wow, we're just diving right in.
We're diving right in.
Gay adoption is an abomination.
Which I don't agree with.
I think there I was referring to social conservatives, because social conservatives still somehow get a bad rap. So, so-called social conservatives, even among other conservatives and other people on the right,
what is that?
It seems to me. But so when I say we, I mean like so-called social conservatives.
I've never heard them say that. I've never heard anybody. I think I agree with it, what you said, but I'm not.
That's a little harsh.
Yeah, and see, that it surprises me about Tucker. I mean, years and years ago when he was on Fox News, I was like, Tucker Carlson, I just can't deal with him. In the last 4 years, 5 years now, there's been a lot that Tucker Carlson has said that I do agree with, and I thought he's kind of grown up a little bit and become a bit more libertarian and that sort of thing, and live and let live. But on this, he's fallen back into old Tucker ship.
I don't think I've ever heard a single person say that. Everyone seems to be afraid to say that.
Yeah, most people are. That's why I think, but so-called social conservatism is that's why it's not popular even on the right.
Can I ask you is there anything more hated on the right than social conservatism?
I don't think so.
So you could say
what the frick is social conservatism?
I don't know. Can we look up and see what social conservatism is? Because it's another thing. Because it's got that word social in there, socialist.
Yeah, that's weird. But is it like a social justice warrior on the right?
Probably so.
Does it mean you're woke? Like a woke right? Like you're willing to fight for people to not have rights?
I think that might be what it is. They have their way is right, and everyone else should have to abide by their view of correct. Social conservatism is a political ideology that prioritizes the preservation of traditional social values and institutions. It often focuses on issues like family, morality, and cultural norms, often contrasting with social liberalism. Social conservatives tend to be skeptical of rapid social change and advocate for maintaining the status quo in areas like family structure, sexual behavior, and religious practices. And here's a more detailed background breakdown, but we probably won't go into that. We believe this, and we're going to force everyone else to believe as we do. That's basically what social conservatism sounds like it's saying to me.
And it's a slippery slope, like trying to enforce what normal values are.
So if that means, then if they were living in another country where the social norms there were totally Islamic, then they would have to abide by those social norms and family values living in that country. So therefore, they wouldn't even be able to be probably Christian, more than likely. No, that's not somewhere where you want to go.
Well, sexual behavior,
like leave your own self out of my bed.
Traditional, like even in the Bible, there was like poly relationships.
Yes, polyamorous or just poly. I don't even know if it had to be love. It was just like polysexual.
I like the concept of freedom, which means limited government. What are you going to give the government more power to dictate how people live their life? Gay people are not hurting other people. We're talking about consensual adults here. And religious practices, like what religious practice? Which version of Christian?
Yeah.
My particular church that I was raised did not like some of the practices of Catholic. And Matt Walsh is Catholic. Like my church would be appalled of like giving confession to a man rather than God. My church was like, that's terrible. It's almost like a false god.
Yeah, and they hated all the little statues.
And they worship the idols.
icons and
That's what they said. They worship the idols.
Yeah, that's what they call
So
them.
which version are you talking about?
Yes, which form of Christianity, Matt Walsh, would you like to see everyone be forced to practice?
So basically, there's social justice warriors on the right.
On the right.
I don't like any of the social justice warriors on either side. I don't like extremism. I do agree with one little, and I have to dig deep.
Probably
Matt
what
Walsh,
you're going to say.
the family values. I agree with the importance of family values and trying to keep a family together. But I also would include gay couples, keeping a stable house for children, but just like having stability with the family, it is very important. And a lot of conservatives do have that family value. Like, hey, you need to raise your kid, you need to stay with them, you need to provide for them, you need to love them. I've met a lot of conservatives that have that. And I agree with that element.
People just need to learn to be happy within their little walls, doing what they do with their family, and let other people have their own view of what their family should be. Live and let live, in other
Just
words.
tolerate.
It's being weird.
Which is
You want to know what I almost said?
What?
It's being gay. I literally almost said it's gay because it wasn't working well. And like it's stupid because I grew up with gay having multiple meanings
Okay.
and I did not mean to. I'm just saying that's what came to my mind. And I didn't say it. I held back. I'm
And
not
see,
saying
I
I'm
didn't
perfect.
grow up with gay being used in that way. That's so messed up.
If you're around a group long enough, you will pick up some of the language.
I think I agree with it, what you said, but I don't think I've ever heard a single person say that. Everyone seems to be afraid to say that.
yeah, most people are. That's why I think. But
Well, maybe most people are just smart enough not to say that. Hopefully they don't think that.
yeah, most people are. That's why I think. But you know, so-called social conservatism is that's why it's not popular even on the right.
Can I ask you is there anything more hated on the right than social conservatism?
I don't think so.
So you could say, like, I think we should drop an atomic bomb on a bunch of people and just like kill them all and their kids. And people are like, well, that's a really good idea. But if you're like, actually, we should like save some kids, then they hate you. What is that?
Yeah. Or we should.
That's kind of out of left field. I think Tucker Carlson probably brought it up because there's a lot of debates right now on Israel.
Okay.
And then what's happening to the Palestinians and how complex it is. But I think at the end of the day, one of the things I do agree with Tucker is he cares about innocent life,
Okay.
even on the Palestinian side.
Okay.
Does that make sense? And I feel
Well,
like,
of course it makes sense.
I do. I care about the innocent life on both sides of any war.
We should probably we should look at the way that human society was structured for thousands of years, and we should probably consider that they were right about a lot of that stuff. You know, maybe not everything,
Right.
maybe not everything, but there are just some certain basic civilizational truths that we have moved away from in recent decades. But I don't think there was any good reason to move away from them.
The problem is who dictates what those are. I agree that some of the stuff that was probably from long ago was right and some was wrong, but who decides where the line is?
Yeah, which part do you keep and carry forward? And
Is
who
slave?
gets to decide? Yeah, slavery was a normal thing.
So slavery was normal. So is that something that we've moved past that we should bring back? No, but like, where do you draw the line?
I guess Matt thinks he's appropriate one to draw a line.
That's an authoritarian behavior. He wants to draw the line for everybody else when it doesn't really directly affect him.
Right.
So if human beings did something a certain way for literally millennia in every civilization that we know of, it's probably right. I mean, there's probably a lot to be said for it. Again, not in every case.
Slavery was one of those things.
Marrying 13-year-olds. Like, that was kind of normal. Like, you'd marry a 13-year-old. Now we're like,
Or
dude,
go ahead and marry the one that's 5 years old, so you got her in like your queue for when she grows up.
let's bring that back. Let's
Yeah.
bring that back because that's what societies used to do.
Yeah.
I think we can evolve as humans and realize a child cannot consent to being married to an adult.
We know we're on the same page with that.
But in most cases, so
It's worth pondering anyway. It tells you something if every civilization, none of which that we know of had contact with each other, came to the same conclusions.
exactly. So it's
What same, sometimes, yeah. I think they came to the same conclusions that, yes, it took a biological male and a biological female to reproduce.
But
There is biology, but it's not like everybody had the same way of going about it. Well, people used to not even marry because of love. It was a business transaction between parents.
that's what marriage first was. Let's just take the whole love thing out of it. You were lucky if you ended up loving the person you were forced to marry by your families because your family was trying to accumulate or hold on to wealth. That's what early marriage, unfortunately, was.
something like the gay adoption. That, and this isn't the only argument against it, but I think it is a worthwhile argument that there's never been a society anywhere on earth, anywhere period, where they have had two men in a romantic relationship starting a family. That's never existed.
Why is Matt Walsh so threatened? I'm just wondering, is he secretly hiding something? Was he abused because he's a Catholic boy?
Well, good question. I don't know.
Because he belongs to a faith that literally has a bad stigma for it for a reason, even though there's a lot of good people. And I'm smart enough to see the difference between the good Catholics and the bad Catholics.
Yeah.
It's like what he sees, his view of gay people doesn't seem to be very favorable. And yes, there's a lot of bad apples, and we should call those bad apples out in the gay community. But I don't know why he thinks it's so terrible for gay people to adopt. Maybe we should have the priests raise the kids.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense.
That's great. And maybe the Catholic Church will protect whatever the priest does and hide it a bit.
It's a shame that so many solid Catholics out there now have that stigma put upon them because of what some of these bad acting priests have done to so many kids.
By the way, my grandma's Irish Catholic and,
Yeah.
and Italian. She's Italian too. But
Your dad's Catholic.
yeah, my dad went to Catholic school.
It's always been a man and a woman start a family, or in certain ancient civilizations and even some primitive ones today, you might have a man and several women. You might have polygamy.
Yeah, he's probably, that might not be as bad. I think that certainly wouldn't be as bad as two men loving each other and raising a child. I mean, it'd be much better for a man to have 70 wives and all those little kids running around in diapers.
That's a pretty common feature, I would say. Around
Common,
the
certainly
world.
common. But you never had. And why do you have polygamy? I don't support polygamy, but there was a logic to it, especially in ancient times.
Yes.
You got to create people, and the whole point is to create, the whole point of the family is to make children and care for them.
My Christian church thought it was sort of wrong to have sex just for fun, even within it like a married man and wife. It was supposed to be always for the sake of procreation.
Yeah. And how many of those got randy on Saturday night and then had to if they thought that way, pray Sunday morning, oh my gosh, I screwed my wife last night and I really wasn't doing it because I need another kid.
A family that's headed up by two gay men that's why it's an abomination. It's just,
It never happened before, and now it's happening, and that's why we call it progress, right? This is progress. It's something that's never been done.
Yeah.
And
Well, it's progress in the way It's progress in the way that cancer progresses.
And
He's harsh, man.
yeah, and I don't know that he's right. Do we have all the writings of everyone that lived on this flippin' planet to know that there weren't situations where people did accept Uncle Bob and James?
Of course, to reproduce, it takes a man and a woman. We are not the people who deny biology. We know that. So in like a perfect world, you'd have a man and a woman. They stay together forever and they
Lovingly.
reproduce and they survive and they have kids and they get to raise them. But sometimes the world's not so perfect. And maybe the parents die. And then you have Uncle, what were you saying?
Uncle Bob and Uncle James.
Uncle Bob and his friend.
Yes, and yeah, always his friend.
Before it was like, is it acceptable? And the kids have no parents. So Uncle Bob decides, hey, you know what? I'm going to raise these kids because I want them to have somebody to mentor them or somebody rather than nobody.
Something rather than an orphanage to have to be.
They need some
around
stability.
him.
They need some love. That is better than nothing, isn't it?
It's progress in the way that cancer progresses. So when I hear about progressivism, I think of progressivism. It is progress.
So we're at stage 4 gay right now, would you say?
Oh yeah, full on stage 4. Yeah,
Stage 4 what?
Gay.
So we're at stage 4 gay right now, would you say?
full on stage 4. Yeah, it's a terminal case. Yeah.
So-
Stage 4 gay, like it's a cancer.
He was saying it was
Ooh,
cancer.
Tucker, that was a really, really nasty burn there.
They were saying
pun.
it's stage 4 cancer.
Stage 4 gay. That surprises me coming out of Tucker. Now, I know there's plenty of people out there, gays or whatever, that may have watched Tucker for years or know of Tucker for years that say that doesn't surprise me at all. But to see what I've seen out of Tucker's mouth for the last 5 years, that surprises me of Tucker.
Well, that's what's so complex. I tend to agree with Tucker with how he views Israel and Palestine, but I don't agree with him on how he views like gays adopting.
Yeah.
Well,
Tucker, you're failing here, man.
and that's what's so tough. There's people that I know that are on the same page with me about gays adopting, but they feel different about Israel.
yeah.
I don't
or the
know.
border.
It's like I don't know what to say. I don't know where the frick I fit.
So I think you make an obvious and very fair and smart point. We should pay attention to the way things have always been done because maybe we can learn something. It's like discarding it all. French Revolution style doesn't end well. I totally agree.
There's truth to that. Some stuff you need to conserve, and some stuff needs to get better. But who decides? It's still complex. And that's why I have more of a libertarian mind. It's like, okay, when someone's an adult, let them do what they want. If they're not hurting you, stay out of their life. And that goes to religion, sexuality, being trans. When you're an adult, let an adult do what they want.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, trans is not sexuality. It's sexual identity.
Oh, okay.
It is different. I don't know what it's like to be trans. I know what it's like to be straight as much as I do trans.
What's the more affirmative, detailed case against it? These kids don't have homes, and here are two loving parents to watch over the child. Why is that bad?
Yeah, well, I think that there are a couple of things. First of all, it's interesting to note that when this conversation about gay parenthood first started really in earnest like 10 years ago, most of the conversation was focused on adoption and gay men want to adopt. But now what's happened is there's been a shift, and now you've got a lot of these gay couples that are turning to surrogacy. So they're renting wombs, they're renting they're purchasing the body parts of women and renting them, using them like an Airbnb rental.
Wait, I thought we got rid of slavery.
Yeah, I would have thought, but this is exactly, this is in a very literal sense, the objectification of a human being.
Here's the thing, too. If he's going to say this, he's unjustified with this if he's saying these two gay men are out there and instead of adopting kids, they're going to go and rent a surrogate womb. There are straight couples that are doing the exact same thing because they want their husband's DNA at least as a child. So they rent an egg or purchase an egg from someone else, or they rent a womb also. So if you're going to say that for gay couples, Matt, you've also got to say that and say we're not going to do that as a society for straight couples either.
And there are some Christians that think that like any kind of science manipulation with procreation is actually against God.
Yes, and then there's going to be others that are religious that will say, this is a blessing that now God has allowed us this, that we can have a child.
Because they believe in the
child.
importance of procreation.
Yes, and people put whatever thought they have onto their God. We basically create our gods in our own image is what we do.
I can't see a Jehovah's Witness wanting like science or manipulation.
Dude, they don't let you even draw blood.
I can't see them like doing like getting an egg and like planting it into another woman.
This is not a practice that Jehovah's Witnesses use, I can guarantee you. You know, like two gay men renting a womb. I kind of get it because they're wanting the experience of having a baby and getting to raise that baby up from, day one. They want it to be their biological child. So if that's a big important thing to them, I don't know that since we have the ability to do it, that should always be considered a wrong thing. But I do see that there's a huge benefit of taking care of kids that are already here. And I think that's the way I would probably go if I were going to have a child and adopt. I want to take care of someone that is already not taken care of.
Yeah.
I don't know that my genes are so great that they absolutely need to be passed on, type of thing. I'm not planning on passing them on.
I think most gay people that I've known actually adopt, though. I mean,
most people.
And we're talking about a small group of people. There's not that many gay people compared to straight. And then of the gay people, how many actually have kids? It's still a small number.
When they think about parenting, they would prefer surrogacy. So it's this sleight of hand trick you see on the left a lot, where they want to bring about some social change and they present an argument for it. But then once they get what they want, they abandon that. And then you figure out what they actually wanted.
What are you talking about?
Abandon it. It's like, tell me that there's not gay couples out there and straight couples adopting kids that already exist. I mean, he's trying to paint this with his own belief, with his wide brushstroke.
Even if we're talking,
but would you concede that one upside to a collapsing post-industrial economy is there are a ton of poor people who are willing to have babies for profit?
I don't know that I would call that an upside. That's it.
Just like, this is so like,
yeah, that's
people don't take 3 steps back. Like if this were happening and if Dickens were writing about this in the 1850s, you'd be like, wow, London's a very screwed up place.
Yeah.
Where we're taking advantage of the poor. Like that's the step beyond.
Yeah.
I mean, it really is treating someone, as you said correctly, as an object.
But there's also the fundamental point, whether it's surrogacy or adoption, the fundamental point is, what does the child have a right to? We keep hearing about,
right.
We hear about this right to parenthood. I mean, you have gay couples now that are demanding insurance cover fertility treatments, as if the reason why 2 men can't make a baby is because of fertility problems. No, it's because of the laws of nature.
True.
I agree with him on that.
And that is cloaked under this. It's sort of under this umbrella of, well, I have a right to parenthood. No, you don't have a right to. What does that mean? No one has a right to be a parent. It's great to be a parent if you can, but you're not born with this like entitlement. You're entitled to a child. What the hell does that mean? Rather than talking about the right of the parent, let's talk about the right of the child. And this applies to so many other. This applies to abortion. This applies to a lot of topics. What does the child have a right to? And I would say a child has a right to a mother and a father. A child has a right to the basic fundamental setup that billions of kids throughout history have had.
And billions probably
haven't.
Like, you don't have a right to have a good parent. Like, yes, you hope that it's like that, but there's no right to have a good parent. A lot of people don't have good parents. People have free will. Parents have good free will as well.
Well, that's it. It's not a right. That is a blessing if a child has 2 loving parents. That's what it is. It's not a right. Because there's plenty of kids that come into the world and then their parents, there's a lot of Palestinians now that, they have, they're just kids. They have no parents to parent them. Women die during childbirth a lot. Well, that child no longer had its mother if it survived the traumatic childbirth. There were a lot of kids that grew up without a mother and had to have a wet nurse. That's what the term wet nurse is. It was another woman produced milk. She already had a child, and so they would feed the baby. Another woman would feed the child that's just been left motherless. It is a blessing if you have 2 loving parents.
If through the course of events, through no one's fault, that is taken away from a child. I mean, you can have a parent that dies. You end up with a single parent. You can have a divorce, which I think is terrible. But it's not supposed to work that way. So if you have a child in foster care, you're looking for a mother and a father. And to just say, okay, well, we'll give this child to two dads, you're basically giving up on that child. You're saying, well, yeah, we couldn't find the right setup for you, so instead you're getting this. And I just reject that. I reject that totally. And I also think, frankly, that, you know, a lot of people won't like this, but
I think we've passed the point where
right. No one likes anything that we're saying. Right. A child being in foster care is far from an ideal scenario. It's very, very sad. A child going to two gay parents, I think, is worse. I think it's easily worse, actually.
Why?
That's crazy. To me, that is crazy. You would rather a child be in foster care than have two gay parents. The reality is, once you hit like 5 in the foster care system, nobody wants you. The line, at least for parents who want you, are a lot less. It's not a big line anymore. Straight parents, gay parents too, but a lot of people want babies. They want babies. So once you hit 5 in the foster care system, you're not really wanted. So if anybody wants you and actually can pass all like the standards, because when you adopt, you have to jump through some hoops. They have to be like, okay, what's your financial situation? Do you have an income? They do a background check, more than some parents have to have. Like some parents just like keep on having kids and it's like, dude, like you need to stop having kids. You got no money.
Yeah. Like, it's so much more of a process and difficult and planned of a process to have a child by adoption than it is to like get horny on Friday night and produce a child within your marriage.
Imagine though.
His bubble is so off-centered on this topic. It is just unbelievable.
Yes, in a perfect world, a biological male and a biological female procreate in the biological terms, you know, a penis in the vagina, and they have an offspring, and they are financially capable of raising the kid, and they're both emotionally stable, and they stay in the kid's life. Maybe that's perfection. Maybe in his world, but that's not the real world. Once you have children that need homes, if you're denying them from having a home, I think you're fucking evil.
I think you're
misled,
being abusive at that point.
I wonder what a child in foster care would think of, like, especially one that never got out of the system, if they would have been told, like, hey, you could have had 2 gay parents at 10 and lived in an actual house with your own bedroom, and maybe had like somebody maybe give you some opportunity in life.
It's just more disordered. It's more confusing for the child. Again, neither scenario is good. We don't like either thing, but
more confusing for a child.
I think he should talk to a lot of kids that have been adopted by gay parents and get their opinion on this, because he hasn't walked in their shoes.
More confusing for a child to not have love, to not have like stability, than to just be in a system where you might actually be put in one foster home that's abusive and then transferred to another foster home that maybe is less abusive, from parents that are being paid to watch you, not because of love, but because they're paid. And some of them it's because of love, but you're passed around and you're over 5.
It's just like normal parents. I'm sure there's really great foster parents out there, and there's really abusive foster parents out there. Just like there's really great parents and there's really piss poor parents. The other process that they haven't even started speaking about here is if someone has adopted and is adopting a child, they're able to prove that they can financially take care of this child that they want. And by disallowing that, they're forcing these kids to stay in these situations that are then a lot of time have to be public supported. So they end up becoming wards of the state, basically. So taxpayers are having to pay for these children. They're not allowed to be passed along to the people that do want them, that would financially take care of them and love them. He's just ridiculous.
Very interesting, because I wonder what his view of like the state taking care of people is in general.
Yeah.
So he would rather the state, the government, from taxes, almost more communist, take care of the kids.
Yeah.
Rather than 2 individuals with background checks financially supporting these kids.
Yeah, he's just ridiculous on this.
I don't see going to, gay parents as an improvement over the what they had before. So
do we know that it screws kids up, or we just sort of intuitively know it?
I think we intuitively know, but also there's been plenty of studies done about the mental health effects of kids that grow up in these, same-sex parent homes. There's been a lot of studies done about it. But honestly, you can look at the studies, people will fact check, and they're there.
So having parents, regardless of the situation of gays or lesbians or whatever, it's like, that is a better option than having no one there for them.
See, to me, that's what's intuitive. That's what seems just like no difficulty at all for me to consider.
I think that's why a lot of Christians finally saw like, oh crap, these children in foster care have no one and nobody wants them. They have no one to want them. Yeah, if somebody wants them, yeah, that is the lesser of evils, or the more loving path to take, I should say. It's the more loving path to have literally a child to go to somebody who's willing to take care of them and love them. Yeah. Duh. That's common sense.
To me, that's common sense.
So not common for him.
No.
I don't need studies for this. It's the same thing with the trans topic. From the very beginning, when we started talking about that, you had all these people saying, well, where are the studies? Where are the studies showing that we shouldn't chemically castrate a 5-year-old or a 12-year-old?
I actually agree with him on that.
Yeah, it's a whole different topic, and he's bringing it in here probably unintentionally, but it muddies the water. You try to stack all of these totally different issues, unrelated issues on top of each other to prove your point. But you're not proving your point. You're using this thing over here, a whole different topic, to try to sway you.
I think it's because it's
think
unscripted.
About this point.
I think it's also just natural. It's unscripted. They're trying to go through a lot of issues in 2 hours.
Okay.
They talk about all sorts of things. So just like when we talk, we accidentally go all over.
Oh, we go everywhere. But it's not logical to use what he's trying to then utilize as logic right now.
But so basically, he doesn't want to chemically castrate a child that's 5 that's trans. I agree with him. At 18, you're an adult. You can make up your mind what you want to do with your body. I do think that we need to be careful with what we do with kids. And I also go as far as saying circumcision. Yeah. I don't think we should be manipulating children's genitals at all, especially since if you don't get circumcised, guess what? You survive. Like, you are going to be fine. And if you want to get circumcised when you're 18, go ahead and do it. And I bet you he's for circumcision. If you don't want to touch child genitals because they're trans, well, you should probably not touch child genitals at all. I think it's kind of barbaric.
Yeah,
it's weird.
We're aligned with that.
Well, there are studies now that will bear that out, but we don't need a study to tell us that. This should be intuitive. We just intuitively know it. Certain things as human beings that we just know. And one of them is that sexually mutilating a child is bad.
Except for circumcision.
Except for circumcision, Matt. I know you're all for that.
I think.
Let's not call it...
Actually, I don't know if are Catholics into circumcision? It just depends. I don't know. Depends on if they're from Europe or America.
Mm-hmm.
Another one is that a child needs a mother and father. We just intuitively know that. I don't need any study. I don't care what any academic says about it. I don't care.
I think there is a discussion to be had about what perfect parents are. And maybe there is something to having a biological male and female raise a child. And I feel like a lot of children have that draw to have a mother and a father. And there's different energies that are associated with that. But this is not a perfect world. It never has been. I think there's maybe even an argument to be made that gay people are here to take care of children that are orphans. And that's part of the world. Maybe that's one of the reasons that biology made gay people.
Well, that's part of the yes.
Maybe I don't know.
That could be part of the biological thing that just, however it gets set up, be it by design, be it by nature, what have you. Because there are so many other species out there, especially in the bird world, where you have siblings or other adults that come in and help raise the young from a nest. Now, that's not across the bird world, it's the exception, but you do have a number of bird species where other adults help raise young in order to ensure, or not ensure, because you can never ensure anything, but a larger chance of the young being raised to maturity, to carry on the genetics of the species. And that could be a total thing for biology in humans, because humans have always had gay individuals in society. Whether the society recognizes it or not, and then it's brought to the forefront, we've always been there. We're everywhere. So don't try to backtrack on the laws and the way things are working now enforcing kids to be perpetually locked into these foster care situations and orphanages.
They have the right to speak. I believe in that. They have the right to do what they want in their own household. Where I would have an issue, and I would probably fight if they started taking too many of my rights away, because you'd back me in the corner, and after at a point you have to like fight back. But the reality is, if they stay in their world and do what they want with their families, go ahead. But don't get into my life. You don't pay my bills. Or us.
And Chris, love you long time.
And by the way, I have tremendous respect for a lot of Catholics, like my grandma. She actually passed away. One of my friends growing up, his parents used to foster kids, and they actually adopted 2 of those kids. They were Catholic, by the way. Great people. Labels like Catholic and whether or not you're a foster parent or not, those facts don't make you good people. Actually being a good person makes you a good person.